We're now going to hear from Mark Siegel with the Oregon Cape affiliate. The Oregon Cape has, over the years, served as a kind of custodian of the history of the Pierce case. And Mark is going to say a few words about that history. We'll then break, and we plan to come back at 4 p.m. for our distinguished panel. Welcome, Mark.
Give me a minute, see if I can activate. Let's see if we can find it here. Talk among yourselves. Well, good afternoon. As a recovering attorney, I don't feel up to the standard of our previous speakers. But I did want to talk a little bit about the court of public opinion and the torch that we do carry. These are the players, the members of the Society of the Sisters of the Holy Name of Jesus and Mary, and here's the Ku Klux Klan. The next slide is really telling because it's what the Ku Klux Klan, they're meeting with the city council and other city leaders to tell them their plans for the city. It's sort of unbelievable to me, the power that the Ku Klux Klan had. People always ask me, is this for real? Did this really happen? And I talk to local Catholics who recall crosses on their church lawns. History records crosses on hillsides in Portland and Ashland and Eugene. In the Oregon Historical Society, there's a whole dedicated section to talk about this. And Clint stole a little bit of my thunder because nativism is quite unique to our state and its history. And I just was going to talk a little bit about that. And I welcome any questions along the way because you're all educators and leaders, and you know a lot of this, and I want this to be useful to you. I was here in 2000 when we celebrated the 75th anniversary. And for those of you who really want to be scholars, I have the 900-page court briefs, all of them. So if you want to study those, I'll be glad to send it post-paid both ways because it's really important reading. It's a little thick, but it's some of the incredible arguments that Governor Pierce made are just embarrassing. You heard the one about the red on the outside. He also said that no 9 men in Washington in black robes can tell Oregonians what's a good law. So what do you know? I like to tell the story about this being Oregon's blackest eye to providing this bedrock of educational freedom. And I hope that after today, you tell everybody about the Pierce case and the 100th anniversary, because some of those emotions and thoughts about private schools still exist today. It's amazing to me that this was a ballot measure. 115,000 Oregonians voted for this law, and a little over 100,000 voted against it. And I also want you to recognize our heroes. The women in the order, this was not a popular thing to oppose, a ballot measure, to go against that and have to testify in court. Many Catholic leaders have recounted to me history in which the nuns were attacked in the public parks by men riding on horses, wearing the Ku Klux Klan garb. That's frightening to me, that they would experience that. This is intimidating stuff. And so to give you a feel for what Oregon is like, my school participated. I have a school in Oregon. I've been there quite a long time. And we participated when the state legislature, the House and the Senate, got together for a whole day, for a day of reconciliation, to acknowledge 150 years of some of the worst practices you can imagine. If you can imagine that. My nearest town is Sheridan, Oregon, named after Phil Sheridan, who was well known for fighting in the Indian Wars. And I'll go ahead and turn this off now. It was just a little bit of color for that. But They took all of the Native American tribes and they consolidated them nearby. We'll get onto this. Sorry, I'll do something. There we go. But if you can imagine, all the Indians, Native Americans in the state of Oregon were consolidated into just a few locations and displaced, and that was just part of our heritage. The other kinds of discrimination that they experienced, the Oregon Constitution prohibited blacks, that's the language they used, from residing in the state. In the town I now live in, near my school, the Chinese restaurant had to be built outside the city limits. And Chinese workers in my town had to work only in the basement, the subfloor of our main street. So that might surprise you, but the Catholic leadership are my heroes. And I've had a chance to talk to the historian for the Society of Sisters and to hear their story. I mean, it's just heroic acts. And I just hope that we carry on this tradition. Why did they pass this law? Justice Bullock referred to some of these things, but this nativism is quite unique. We know about xenophobia, but even today, in headlines in the local news, you'll find out about a bill that was opposed and nativism wins out. In headlines today, it's not gone. There was a ballot. There was a law that was being proposed, and it was opposed because it had to do with immigration there in Oregon. I've told you about some of the mistreatment there. So there were tens of thousands of Ku Klux Klan members parading through our streets. And as I said, they also were attributed. The New York Times had a headline that said they got Governor Pierce elected, for gosh sakes. The phrase that you probably saw in one of the slides, 100% Americanism, white, Protestant, anti-Catholic, anti-immigrant. One of the things that they stirred up, of course, was after the Great War, which we now call World War I, the idea that they use these words, syndicalists and Bolsheviks were all going to open schools and bring down America. One paid advertisement that was in the Oregon newspaper called it, promoted the school bill, one flag, one school, one language. And it wouldn't surprise you to know that there were other laws that followed the Pierce law that outlawed religious garb, that outlawed teaching in school other than in English. So this is a battle that continues. So we had exclusionary laws and discriminatory acts for 150 years. It kept shifting. After the black resident opposition, then the same Chinese workers that Clint talked about in San Francisco, they were accused of taking jobs in Oregon, and they were widely opposed. So I hope that gives you a little bit of the flavor. I think you already got it before, but here's what I think is the most important thing. When I try to get schools to sign up for the Oregon Federation of Independent Schools, they tell me why. Why should I join? Nothing's happening. And then when something happens, they accuse me of having it occur to build up the membership. But the reason nothing's happening is because that vigilance that we just heard about is just so important as a legacy to continue to tell this story. But more importantly, we have to share our good works. We're all so busy running our schools that we can forget that task. I think everyone would raise their hand. Can you do everything you're supposed to be doing and that you want to get doing? No, we run out of time. We're busy people. But everywhere I go, I talk about the Oregon Federation of Independent Schools. You know, the private schools, because the organization's slightly misnamed because we're more than independent schools. We're the voice of private education. And I always tell my schools, and I just want to remind you, there's the basics. Have people come visit your school. Have your school visit other people. Just share our good works in quiet and honorable ways. Good community service, helping out others, is just vital. That's the Pierce legacy. We now have the opening. We have this ability because America gets its strength not from conformity, but from the freedom of choice that we have, respect for different traditions, and where diversity flourishes. And that's what we represent. In our communities, I hate to talk about the bad PR I often have to overcome when it comes to private schools. I remember one state official had taught in a private school and had a terrible experience, but it wasn't until I had him go to a couple other schools, he said, wow, I'm really glad I did that. I didn't realize private schools were so good. Well, that's your job, to let them know that we're doing a good job, that we're working for the common good. So I would just say, from my Oregon perspective, that yes, we've been carrying the torch because we're Oregon, and this was an Oregon law, bad law. But it gives us an opportunity to get into a dialogue. The thing is, this is not top of mind with most education officials, with most parents, the importance of the Pierce case. But I can't tell you how important it is. You wouldn't be here today if you didn't know that. But we need to be active parts of our communities, make that extra effort, be part of educational communities, share what we do, learn from others. Because nativism and xenophobia is not just an Oregon problem. And the emotions that were stirred up are easily stirred up again. And you all know that in your own ways. It's not like it went away. It's not like the legislation made people be good. That just didn't happen. So it's only through our vigilance to share our good works and to be good neighbors can be on the heroes of the Pierce case and promote its legacy. And only then can we affirm the child is not the mere creature of the state. Thank you.